This is TWiT.
Monterey on our laptops was more than 12 gigabytes. Nice, hefty download. We did want to do it before we left the country. I mean, it's better to do it at home than try to do it on airport Wi-Fi. What do we know?
Some people would say, "Wait till you came home, Leo." I mean, like I'm not just putting this out there.
No, that's a good point. But wait a minute. Now it's pretty reliable.
Those
right?
people are drips. Don't listen to them.
Totally. But I mean, like, still, like if by chance, like there was anything that just wasn't compatible, you didn't check for it right away.
Oh God. Same thing with iOS 15.1. Even the watch got updated. I'm
like, if your Hasselblad
on the
didn't work
edge
with it all of a sudden or something.
Yeah, living on the edge. That would be bad. Monterey does not, besides new wallpaper, does not seem dramatically different. Some of the features that would have made a difference, the ability to control every Apple device, you know, with your keyboard and mouse, would have been nice. SharePlay is in there, but I mean, for me, I don't know. Some people, I guess if you're a grandparent, FaceTiming a kid and watching Phineas and Ferb together.
Leo, tech support, like our lives are going to be so much. Like just, well, I guess it's not as big deal on macOS. You're talking about macOS now, but just in general, like being able to SharePlay your family through tech support stuff, to me is going to save you countless trips.
Yeah. Oh, so it doesn't just have to be Netflix. You could do it with just
it's actually not
share.
Netflix. I think Netflix is the only thing.
It doesn't work with Netflix.
Yeah, it doesn't work with Netflix.
And some are coming later, like Disney Plus is coming later, and some of the other stuff's coming later. But also, like just sharing photo, like you can do, like remember when you came home from a trip and you could show everyone your slides?
Oh, you could bore them remotely now. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hard run. I'm hoping that it's the first step down this path and not the final step, because it's I feel like it's such a lost opportunity to really scale that up a little bit. I think that we can SharePlay it, but one of the things that would be really interesting is a much larger experience than 32 people. You know, I think about a lot of things that would be fun to be able to basically do that. And it might have to be a little bit more closed down, but you should be able to just subscribe and say, I want to watch it. We all want to watch at the same time, and let 1,000 people watch it together, you know, watch something together. And I think that those things I think those actually would be easier to do in some ways because you could have, you know, real movie premieres, you know, that everyone's watching at the same time. They're tweeting, people are following, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that could happen. You know, lining people back up again time-wise could be really, really interesting from a acceptance. I think watching this with my friends when the audio goes down when people talk is probably something I will almost never do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the question
then you could say to them, what did he just say? What did she just say? Who's that?
I know. That's exactly why I won't do it. I have enough trouble with that on the couch right now.
It's going to be terrible in one way because it is so the latency is really good. The responsiveness, they automatically duck audio if you start talking.
That's what I'm
and
talking
also
about.
like anybody can control it.
Bad. No.
Yeah.
So like it's going to be but like that's what happens in the living room now. Like especially when you have the extended family over, it's like, why are you talking over everything? Who's got the remote? Why are you doing that? And now that's going to happen every time we watch.
You're so funny. You're like me, Rene. I'm watching the movie. I'm paying attention. Then all of a sudden I hear TikTok audio coming from Lisa's iPhone. She's going through.
Well, the funny thing is, like, my godkids will actually ask to have the subtitles put on because they can't stand us talking over the TV.
Yes, stop talking.
Like,
I'm watching. Yeah. Rene, you talked about the spatial audio sounding good. How does the voice isolation sound? Does that work okay? Have you tried that?
Yeah, I mean, that's more, as far as I understand it, those are like the inverse features of the AirPods. Like the AirPods have noise canceling and they have transparency mode. And what this does is either like you want to share the party with everybody. So we want to make sure you don't miss like everyone in the room. This will let it really get like wide audio. And then if you want to isolate on just you, it'll cancel out as much of the background as possible. It's hard for me to test because I don't know what it sounds like to other side. And I'm not talking to people who are not that tuned into it, but it dramatically cuts down the noise, at least.
We don't use FaceTime on our shows, so I guess we won't know, but that's a nice feature of other products, and I think Apple could probably do it very well. Another controversial feature, Safari, they kind of backed down on a lot of the Safari changes, didn't they, or no?
Yeah, they gave you an option. So right now you in the latest versions you have two options. One is basically as shown at WWDC, where they have that new compact layout and your tabs are indistinguishable from address bars, and basically everything that some people like cosmetically, but I really do not like functionally. And then you have the other option, which is to go back to the previous version of Safari, basically, where the tabs look like blessed tabs.
Is the compact tab bar the default? Am I gonna want to go in immediately?
I don't know, because I switched it immediately.
Yeah, turn it off right away.
I don't know what they're going to ship with.
Yeah. So I'll let you know.
Hopefully it'll preserve your settings. Like I don't want to. Nobody should be surprised by that.
Yeah.
But what a great illustration of the problems of innovation. That sometimes I and a lot of other people give Apple crap for saying, hey, at least give us options. But I wonder if we would have found out that this menu bar change was the address bar change was actually better if they simply said, no, you don't get an option. You can't turn it off if you want, because you see it doesn't work for you for the first 10 or 15 minutes. You turn it off, and then you never think about it again.
I don't think so, because I think
it was the wrong choice. But
there's a semantic. You want to make a semantic distinction between controls that are part of the software you're using and controls that are part of the web page.
Yes.
And what this does is it blends the two together, so you just don't know. If you look at it right now, John, show my screen. If you look at it right now, the idea is that this heaps and woods screen is the look and feel is spread throughout. You kind of know that these tabs are not part of it, but that's not always the case.
But if you have two tabs, you can't tell. Like I can't tell what the active tab is still. Like I've been using it for 3 months, and I still can't tell what the active. And I still all the time.
I think it's a
fun tab and type.
It's a fundamental flaw because we do need to make the distinction between controls that are part of the browser and the website. And so I think. That's the key. I'm 100% with you. Also, the web browser, it's an app canvas. It's not a web browser at this point. That's
you need to know the UI, and you're absolutely right. But what makes me think sometimes is that let's say that Apple had. No, I'm saying that
giving people a choice, right? I understand. Yeah.
Well, at the very beginning, that when they designed the Mac, they said, no, we're not even going to give you a control keys or function keys, because we put function keys on the keyboard. Then programmers would say, we're not going to bother to learn how to program for a mouse. Users would say, we're not even going to bother to learn how to use a mouse. We're going to go with control / whatever to boldface something. It's just as much crap as I and other people sometimes give Apple for not giving people options for change. Sometimes it's like, well, at least we're going to force you to at least give it a chance before we retreat with our tail tucked between our legs. But at least allow us to abuse our marketability to at least get you thinking about maybe this is a better way of doing things.
I think they panicked. Like I think they legitimately panicked and thought they were going to lose a lot of users if they shipped it with that as the new default. Like my understanding is that there were two camps when people like HI proposed this idea, and there were some people like, yes, like the browser market is ripe for innovation, and other people like, it is absolutely, but it can't violate every law in our own human interface guideline while you're innovating. You got to innovate forward, not innovate. Like Safari's whole motto is zero regression. And then my guess is they saw the pushback, and the executives at Apple do like to test the betas, and somebody called and said, where are my tabs? And they said, well, sir, and they're like, why aren't you on a plane yet?
So for instance, I'm using Firefox on Linux right now, but if I hit F11, I can expose all the Firefox controls, and if I hit it again, I can go full screen. Now, this is what Apple's kind of offering you, is this idea that the web page is all, and I think this is a better way of doing it. So if I want the very clearly different controls from the browser, I can have them. Yeah. But when I'm showing you the page, I don't want to see them. Anyway, enough of that.
Tabs look like tabs.
Focus is here. First thing Lisa said is, what the hell is this? And I don't want it.
She'd probably like it, actually.
I said it's the same as on your phone, and so maybe that helps, I guess.
Well, it's going to be like, there's going to be people, like there are certain people who like to do apps, they like lists, they like being organized, and they're going to love the ability to have all these different modes with different home screens, different apps, different people that can contact us. I know some people who are like, I hate people in my family, I don't want them to know that, but I made a whole mode just called, like was it Bad Family, and they just can't get through to me on a daily basis, which I'm not supporting, but I'm saying I understand. And then you're going to have people like me who are like, these are basically gym memberships. You feel good about yourself because you have them, but there's so much to set up and so much to manage, they become an extra job. And I already feel like I have too many jobs, so I'm okay with like binary.
Yeah, I like Do Not Disturb. I just turn on Do Not Disturb, and I do like DND. I think that's really nice to have. This is just like on the phone. So if you've used iOS 15, you're familiar with it. You can have different kinds of focus modes. You can have them, I presume, tied to time of day or what you're doing and that kind of things, or where you are, so forth. So I think,
my notifications are all set to, they can happen anytime between 9:59 and 10 o'clock at night.
Yes, me too.
All my notifications are there.
Me too.
And if I'm actually up, it's I feel like the computer's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I have to tell you. Like all these things happened today. And then,
I always know when it's time to get out of bed because my phone starts honking at me. All the notifications for the night have come in. So,
Alex, just a question that I'm entering without judgment. Like, if part of the house were on fire, would your wife decide, you know what, I need to go into the office hours live stream in order to make sure he knows that the house is on fire?
The house on fire is really the only thing that I'm okay with. So usually
there's a
like
feature for that. Because you can now turn on status in messages, so it'll say Alex has his notifications silenced, and there is a way for truly urgent messages to get through that, just as there is on the phone. Yeah, but you could turn that off too if you want.
My phone is a little bit more like if you're a contact, you can usually I'll at least see your name pop up. If you're not a contact, I don't see it at all. I don't even know you called. But if my mom and my wife and my kids they have a pretty direct route to me, but that's about it. Yeah.
So the kind of cool thing is, I can see on my phone that I'm in work mode. I have a little work notification popped up because that's the work focus. Now that will automatically, right, Rene, go to all my devices, including my Mac. So everything will be in work mode, which may or may not be your desired effect, but that's the idea. If you're in work mode, you're in work mode
Leo.
It's an ecosystem.
You've been ecosystemed.
Yep. Quick Notes is here. We've had it on the iPad and I've loved it. It's now here on the Mac as well. I tried dragging up from the left screen, then I realized, it's not a touch device. How do you activate?
My pencil doesn't work on it either.
I tried, and I thought, oh crap, it's not. It
feels like a pencil feature. Like it's just so organic to pencil. But I'm like, I like that it's there. Like I almost do all my note taking on the iPad now because it's just so organic with the pencil and typing and everything. But then I like that it's on the iPhone so I can quickly triage things on the go. And then I like that it's on the Mac because the Mac is still best for mass data entry. So if I have to sit there and take a ton of notes, I'm still going to want to do that on a Mac.
Yeah.
There's a hot corner. Like the bottom right is a hot corner. So you bring
move
your
the
mouse
mouse
down there.
Okay.
You'll see a little edge. Yeah.
But you have to turn that. It looks like
you
have to turn that on. It's not on by default.
Mine just showed up, but I don't know.
Okay.
Mine started working. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll look at my hot corners, and what's nice is they're attached to the app that you used. So they're, that's kind of cool.
For as long as Apple's around, our notes will persist. Or as long as Apple's interested in maintaining notes, our notes will persist.
Yeah.
They spend. I think that they spend a lot of effort on notes. It's constantly progressing. It's not a. It's a pretty powerful app that's kind of just hidden in there. I use it all day, every day. So Notes is like where I literally write my articles in Notes because it means that any device that I have stuff in it, and I'm cutting and pasting stuff to it, and I have folders and process. And so when you start actually taking advantage of Notes, there's an enormous amount of tools that are in it. My biggest complaint is mostly that I can't draw over top of text. It's modal. When you're on your iPad. Can you? Because I couldn't. I thought I tested it in at least.
I think that's one of the new features.
Okay,
I'll have to try it.
Try that because that's been my number one thing with Notes is just that I start typing something and I want them to live in the same. I want my drawing on the iPad to be in the same place as my text, not in a window above or below.
Plain text mode. I just want to be able to press a button and get plain text.
Federico Vitici in his review of shortcuts on Mac Stories says it's still rough around the edges, but that's interesting. I think that's
kind of common.
Yeah.
I mean, rough around the edges is common for the a .1, .2 release of a new OS. Apple, I feel like Apple never gets into its stride until, this is why I tend to be very slow about the upgrades, is that I feel like Apple gets into its stride around February, because that's when they stop thinking about it and they're thinking about the next thing. So like February, they're like, okay, we're done with that one. Now they're now completely thinking about the next version. We're not going to add anything to this one yet.
We're done. Universal Control's still not here. They have to add that. Do we have any idea? Did they tell you, Rene?
Later this year. Later this year is all they're saying.
It says available later this fall. But
this fall. Okay.
That goes through December 20th.
Fall goes to the 21st of December.
Yeah, right.
Now, is that all devices? Like, if you had like 3 Macs, could you run it across them all, or is it just the
as long as you have
more than one
Mac
Mac
in your chain. So
it says a single keyboard and mouse or trackpad now work seamlessly between your Mac and iPad. They'll even connect to more than one Mac or iPad. Move your cursor from your Mac to your iPad, type in your Mac.
You can't do just iPad, and you can't start with an iPad. It has to start with a Mac. So the Mac is like the control hub, and then you can add one or two other Macs, one or two other iPads, or one Mac and one iPad.
That's pretty cool.
My situation is I have 4 Macs on my in my office, and I kind of do want to just go over it. And I've been thinking about getting Synergy for it, but I kept on feeling like, well, if this is really going to work across all of them, I might just wait.
Yeah. That was a big disappointment for me. That's why I didn't rush to upgrade just yet. I'm going to do it like after this show, but like that I actually already have like an iPad Pro stand like on my desk waiting for it, because I do anticipate that being like a game changer. It was actually one of the reasons why I bought I paid extra money for a big iPad Pro to begin with. I don't think that feature hadn't been announced yet, but the idea of using this as a complementary display for my Mac seemed like it would make perfect sense, particularly given the quality of the display. So yeah, that's the one feature that I'm hoping that Apple really delivers on, because that could be, I wouldn't say a game changer, but that is one of the reasons why you buy Apple products, and why sometimes you buy Apple products even when they're competing products by other makers. It's like, I know that this is going to cost a lot of money for this iPad, but I know that the value is going to increase as Apple continues to come up with new ways to integrate it with other stuff that I'm using.
If you have good speakers on your Mac, you might be glad to know you can use your Mac now as an AirPlay speaker, or you can AirPlay content to your Mac. So your Mac is just like a TV.
Can you just imagine? Like, you have your new MacBook Pro with its XDR display, and then right next to that, over control or over Sidecar, you have your iPad Pro with an XDR display. And now all of a sudden, we've got commercialized pro-level color grading and pipeline work and everything just sitting there on your travel table.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Live text and photos. That's neat. So even photos I've taken in the past, I can now interact with the text in the photo, click links.
And all those image layer PDFs, like the PDFs where they were too lazy to use an actual text layer, which just basically scan the document, all of that text is unlocked without you paying a fortune for an OCR app and running it through and wasting all your time.
Nice. Yeah. I hope that we do start seeing some shortcuts stuff happening, by the way. There is integration with a number of apps. Vitici has 27 apps that are already shortcut enabled on the Mac, so that's good. That's good.
Every time we talk about shortcuts, I just want to say all I want is shortcuts with nodes. You know, that you can just sit there and go, I want this all. I want all these things. I just want to tie all these things together and just build a nodal infrastructure of what that looked like.
There's no reason somebody couldn't write that as a third-party app, I think.
Yeah.
It could. It just it'd be harder. I mean, like to do. I mean, you could do it with shortcuts. What I want is really something that sits between shortcuts and Swift. You know, where you're basically programming and you can make it an app, and you could really turn it into something. I think that there's a huge opportunity for people to solve problems without having to write code.
I was going to say that was one of the big evolutions of AppleScript, where they basically allowed you to use Xcode interface tools to interface builder to create interfaces and then wire it into your Apple scripts. That also because the shortcuts are a wonderful gateway drug to programming, and the exact right way to get someone introduced to programming is not, oh well, here is this wonderful 18-part course and how to do Fortran. It's all about I really wish there were a simpler way to do this. Oh wait, I've been meaning to try out shortcuts. Hey, look, I've done this really simple thing that fixes it, and then 2 months later, you've made it so complicated, gloriously complicated, that it's collapsed 25 minutes worth of work into one button press. And now the ability to simply feed that shortcut with fields, with pop-ups, with a modern interface would just absolutely turn people into commercial developers and really make great stuff for companies, great works for communities.
And I think from a monetary perspective, from a market perspective, you could have the ability to compile all of these things into an app that you could sell on the App Store with a nodal compositor that's really building. You're really programming an app. You know, like this is what it is.
Kind of what Playgrounds is doing, right?
Kind of, but being able to have, but Playgrounds again is still like too much typing. You know, the thing is that
they're the typing. You convert the shortcuts into Swift, and that's not necessarily necessary.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is you could be typing, you could be building a nodal. We did this back in Shake days. You would build a whole bunch of things, and you basically, and even with motion, you build something really complex, then you say, these are the attributes I'm going to expose to the user to use. These are the dials or whatever I want to put in there. And then you compile it into one thing. And that could be something that you could turn into an app and then literally sell it on the App Store. Now, on the other end of that, you could have people developing nodes that you could use. You could buy those nodes, and put them into your apps and so on and so forth. And so there's a lot of places that you could, let people really, because there's a lot of people that have ideas that aren't programmers, but could think logically. And Shortcuts is a great gateway to that. But there's a huge gap between Shortcuts and Swift, and that gap could be filled by something that's like a visual programming interface.
New Globe. Apple has Sherlocked Replogal. You have a Globe, okay? New transit features, new map features, privacy, blah, blah, blah. iCloud Plus. Wait a minute, we didn't have that before? We had that before, right? Or maybe not.
We had Plus technology.
Yeah. iCloud Private Relay, hide my email. Yeah. But I think we had that already. And so much more. So much more.
Basically, you used to pay for extra storage. Like you had iCloud and you could pay for extra storage. Now when you pay for extra storage, you also get Private Relay and the other features, and they just bundled that together as iCloud.
Yeah, but that's
Plus.
not new with
Monterey.
Monterey. Haven't I had that all along? Or
Private Relay is new with Monterey.
Oh, it is? Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Was I getting it on iOS?
Like intermediary servers.
Oh, yes. I was. Okay. So this is the first time.
Well, iOS 15, it's new this year. Like Private Relay, they announced it at WWDC of this year.
Right. And now it's available on the desktop as well as on mobile. Okay.
That's their answer to app tracking transparency for the internet, because app tracking transparency is bound to your device and to the apps, but they can still follow you around the internet. And this is like, well, I would rather you don't follow me around the internet either. Thank you.
Right. So turn that on, I guess, in your settings. I'm sure it's not on by default, or is it? Maybe it is.
But if you turn it on, Mark might change the name of Facebook. So just think about the consequences of
That's going to happen whether you turn it on or not. I'm sorry.